Hey guys, in 2024, we're doing something a little bit different. We want to hear from you on what movie we need to talk about.
Yep. If you guys like movies like us, we're definitely interested in hearing what type of movies or what movies specifically you want to listen to us. And if you want to give us some suggestions, there's the Beacons link available in the description, which then you have Discord, you have YouTube, comments, whatever you want to do, DM us. Just let us know what you want us to talk about, and we're happy to share that with you.
And of course, you can't forget to like, subscribe, give us 5 stars, name your children after us, or whatever it is that you want to do. But make sure you do it so that more people can find us.
Definitely, please support us because we need all the support, and you guys can definitely help us keep going in 2024. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're here to talk about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And as always, I have here with me Ramon.
Hey guys.
And Ro.
Howdy, howdy.
And we're doing this show because we were supposed to do this in 2023, and for some reason it fell in the cracks. So here we are in 2024, and we're tackling Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And this is gonna be a hard one, man. I don't know if we'll be able to do this in an hour, but let's start it up. Ramon, this is your first Full Metal anything, so what did you think about it, man?
What are you gonna start with me? Pressure? No, I'm kidding. No, well, you know what? I've been waiting to talk about this forever too, because I did start watching this like months ago. But as we were just like having this discussion, that it's like I didn't realize that it necessarily was like 64 episodes or something, and you know, life happens. Next thing you know, those like few episodes just took forever and ever. Finally finished it about a month ago, and honestly, obviously, I understood exactly what people have been talking about it for like years, why it tends to be one of people's favorite like anime and stories, and then just kind of like avoiding some of the other like versions of it or movies thus far. Like it was kind of just fun to like live it for what it was and me having that experience. And honestly, I get the hype. Like maybe it would have made a little bit more sense and even more impactful to me if I was a little younger watching it, because obviously it doesn't hold up with the animation and stuff like that to some other shows, but the story is freaking great. Like just to have the whole thing of a giant conspiracy where you're basically trying to kill everybody so one person can just become like godlike, amazing, and that you don't even find out towards the end. So it was just that. And then
Spoiler.
You know, just oh, whatever. Everybody knows. And then clearly, just like the whole, like the Elric brothers, obviously it was so great to follow them. And, you know, there was just so many relatable things, so many funny moments, so many sad moments. And then, you know, sadly, all those really hit me hard too. So now I get to share the pain with everybody else.
For anybody not watching us on YouTube, Ramon just revealed this epic shirt that'll make you smile and cry at the same time.
Tell them what it is, Carlos. But
no, they need to get on YouTube and see it for themselves.
Or Spotify.
I got to give credit though. My cousin Edgar did give me this forever ago because he knew I was watching it. So I understood by then, but it was definitely one of the saddest moments. So I'm excited to talk about that.
Especially knowing that they could have probably gotten her back to normal by the end. But yeah, sucks, man. Sucks.
Not after Scar.
Well, yeah. I'm a little bit nervous to talk about this because I feel like I've been fed a lot of Full Metal in the last 25 years since, you know, Full Metal first came out. I think the original came out in 2005. I'm not that old. But anyways, Ro, how did you enjoy your rewatch?
So I know Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood particularly is a lot of people's favorite anime like ever. Not like one of, but like the number one anime, like their favorite. So I watched it for the first time like a few years ago, like during the pandemic, which is when I really watched like most of the animes that I've seen now. So like I loved it when I watched it during the rewatch. Like I got a lot of why I loved it. I think the more I rewatch it, like I think the second time it didn't hit as hard as the first time, but like I still enjoyed it, and I found myself this weekend like accidentally binging through it, which is something that I only do when something's good. So. I like it. I know why it's one of the best. It has one of the best stories, has amazing pacing. It has so much story, so much world building that just works. I love the characters and just a lot of really good things. It's hard to say bad things about it. Besides, maybe they could make it a little bit longer.
Oh my god, we'll talk
But
about that for sure. I feel like, it's gonna sound. I feel like as we keep going that maybe this was not my favorite show, but I do want to say when Full Metal, the original one, first came out, I loved it, man. Like I have a pocket watch of the Full Metal watch. I have a Full Metal tattoo on me. It was one of my favorite animes. I watched not only the original but Brotherhood twice. I watched the live actions. So I've gotten so much Full Metal content that I feel like this time as I was watching it, man, like I don't know, man. It's just like I seen a lot of the story play out too many times that I was a little bit like I guess bored by it, and I started kind of seeing some of the stuff that I'm like, could they really have done this, or did this make sense? So that's why I'm really happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I think for Ramon, I think this experience for you being your first time is probably awesome, man. So I really want to relive the show through you because I think you're going to be the one to have more positive things to say about it than me and Raul. Because this was your first time seeing it.
You're not gonna make it out of alive watching it through me.
Why?
No. I'm just saying because you know how I like to watch my show sometimes. Definitely a little under the influence. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean, and honestly, I think that was part of it for me too. It's like I guess there's so much stuff that I've been binging like lately in so many other shows.
Dude, I can't get over your shirt. I'm sorry.
Hey, bro, focus.
What part about it? No, like I think it's one of those things. Like, yeah, of course, like compared to a lot of the things that are coming out lately, like it doesn't feel like as like crazy, but it's just like the story on its own, and just like my experience with it, acting like I obviously didn't know anything about it was great. And then a lot of the conversations that come out of it, like I finally understood what people like. Man, I've been waiting for this moment just because I've been holding off on my like Brotherhood, like Full Metal, this discussion with anybody just because of this reason. Like I'm really excited to tackle some of the things that I really loved about it, and then the things that I didn't love about it aren't even that important. It was just because again we're different age now than when it first came out, so it's just those don't even matter. Like it's not even worth comparing it to like new stuff. But yeah, man, I enjoyed it a lot.
I mean, this is going to be a hard show to talk about. Should we start off with maybe the characters, like especially the brothers, and see what you thought about them? But what did you think about, like, let's say Edward, Ramon, or Ro? What did you think about Edward? What in your first watch and now in your second watch?
Dude, I'll say this because we kind of talked about it on the Discord group about the best brother in anime or whatever, and like honestly, I think Edward has a super strong case because like. So in this situation, for anyone that is still watching that hasn't seen the anime for some reason, there's going to be a ton of spoilers. So you have this this small kid with an even younger brother who just lost their mother, and they haven't seen their dad in years, so they're pretty much all on their own now, and they learn of alchemy or whatever. And then they figure out, you know what, we're going to try to bring our mother back because they miss her. They're alone. So they do this big mistake that they end up doing. And Edward loses an arm. He loses a leg because of it. But he loses one of them because he accidentally lost his brother, and he's trying to bring his brother back. So much chaos happens, and he spends his whole life trying to redeem himself for this one mistake that he did when he was like a little kid. How old was he? 8, 9? I don't even know how old he was.
Yeah, possibly less. Yeah.
Because I think when the show's happening, he's like 15, 16. Like I don't think he's like even like a full adult. I think he's still a teenager.
I mean, he was definitely a genius since a young age. I agree.
Yeah. He was obviously gifted at alchemy, but yeah. So he spends his whole life trying to redeem himself and for this one mistake that he did, trying to get his brother's body back and kind of trying to get his body complete again, or at least a little bit more complete. But he really is like. If I had a brother, I would want Edward to be my brother because he would do anything for me. He would like scour the earth and murder or
well, I don't know if he would murder anybody, but
for me he would.
Well, I I was gonna say like I want to stick to Brotherhood, but in all honesty, the first time I saw Edward ever was in the original. And in the original, the first episode is I think it's that episode where they go to that town and the priest is like trying to do miracles. So there's the whole image of he gets attacked by the Chimera, and then the Chimera is actually not hurting him because the Chimera is it's biting like his metal arm, and then he takes off the jacket, dude, and you get that reveal of his like metal arm, metal leg, and to me, Edward was like freaking cool. Like I'm like, oh my god, this guy is so freaking cool. The way he looks is awesome. Like, what am I watching? Like my mind was blown the first time I ever saw Edward. Like it was just like the coolest thing.
The cyborg.
See, and I don't think like Brotherhood like did that great of a job to make you fall in love with Edward outside of the like brotherly and his like obviously like talent for like alchemy.
Yeah.
But I think I didn't feel like he was like the cooler one. Definitely Al. Like Alphonse was like by far, and I think
I like Alphonse,
I fell obviously I fell in love with their story, right? Like Raul was saying, it's like definitely a tragedy, like accidental tragedy of not only their like dad leaving them behind, but then after like the mom dies and them learning more alchemy and then coming back and then trying to do that and then all the loss that happens there. Yes, that's really tragic, and that was like kind of like a big awakening for me into the show where I'm like, holy shit, it's like that, right? Like this is kind of like not like someone else's fault, is technically their fault for trying to bring their mother back, and it's just such a great
kids though.
I know, but I'm not saying it's their fault like in a negative way, but I'm saying like it's tragic, right? Yeah. It's even more tragic for that reason.
Yeah.
And then I think the show does a great job of revealing things at different moments, but like one of my favorite moments was finding out that the mother, or like the supposedly like revived body, wasn't even the mother. Like that to me was like, holy crap! You just spending years upon years, like being upset at yourself because of trying to like bring your mother back. Not only did you cause your brother to lose his body and you lost your limbs, but then also like you just felt bad that like this was like a failed attempt and the mother's body suffered. And then later you find out it wasn't even really the mother. And then I love that layer. So like, I guess what I'm saying is like what they went through as brothers was crazy of a journey. My favorite brother was definitely Al. I think to me, like, and I've seen him before in his form, and I just had no clue what he was about. Like, I even knew he was hollow, and it was kind of really fun to really find out what truly happened to him, and then just the whole idea that he was this like giant freaking suit of armor that legitimately doesn't feel, taste anything, and then in reality he's still just a kid. And I mean, obviously relatively like a little older later, but it's like he's still just a kid, man. And then it gets crazier when you find out that his body's still alive in the other world. And it's just so I don't know. I think this is why this show is so good, because even if the animation obviously it's different now, and obviously the story is great, I think it's just like it has so many depth, like it has so much depth to it, and every little aspect of the stories are like I don't know, there's more and more, and again you get to the end and you're still finding stuff out about the beginning. So like I think it's great to like go back and look at a time. Like I definitely looked up at a timeline of the whole show, and it made so much more sense. But I'm glad the show didn't play it out that way, because it was more fun. It just surprised you more, and it just made you like kind of really feel for them and their journey.
It's funny because I think in another like universe, or if the show would continue, past where it ended, I do see Alphonse and Winry getting together, because I don't know why I like the way Alphonse looks once he's like gets his body back, and in a way I can feel like almost like Edward went somewhere and never came back, and then them two ended up spending way too much time together. But I like Alphonse a lot, man. I like him when he gets his human body, and I like him in the armor suit, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You have a body that never gets tired, doesn't sleep, can fight 100% all the time.
But he belongs to May, though. Him and May end up happy. I mean, they don't have kids like freaking Edward and Winry, but still, like, I don't know. That was something fun just watching that at the very end. I'm like, oh, I'm glad there was a happy ending to the whole thing, So
was there was there an image of her grown up that I missed?
Yeah. There was like towards the end, there was like a photo, but then also like Edward and Winry were playing with their kids, like, or one kid or two kids.
Okay, I was trying not to miss any of this stuff when I was watching the
I missed this.
I was like glued on my TV, so I don't know how I missed it.
It was definitely the very last episode, and there was a photo, and then May's grown up, and she's right next to Al, and so you could tell they're an item, and then you have like Winry and Edward with babies, and then I think it's what's her name, their teacher too. She was in it too, Izumi. I believe she was there with her husband. But anyways, long story short, like, yeah, I mean, obviously after you follow this long crazy story, it's so nice to see that they do get a happy ending, because I love them, man. It's brothers.
Dude,
and like, I don't know.
Dude, I had another Evangelion moment here where, when we did our rewatch of Evangelion, I was looking at Misato like, oh man, Misato, like you're looking like, now that I'm older, like you're kind of like the woman that I'm kind of looking at. And this time, it was like Izumi and that other, the Armstrong sister. I'm like, oh man,
Oh
like,
yeah,
I
no,
know.
the Armstrong sister. I'm like, dude,
General
someone
Armstrong.
kicked me over here.
yes. It was her, man. It was her, because
Those lips.
Yeah, those lips.
Izumi was great, but I think she was definitely a little scary. I mean, they were both scary. Maybe that's why we were so attracted to. but okay. So I'll say it legitimately, right? Being the man that I am, Izumi's taken. She has a whole man right there that's been like.
Oh,
There
he's a
with
man.
her, right?
Oh, he's a man.
Yeah, see,
Nowhere near that.
So
What a man.
we're gonna respect that. We're not even gonna go there, but definitely with freaking Alex's sister, that's a whole different story, man. And she was like great. No, you know what? And then another thing that again we shouldn't go too far without talking about was just the whole concept of alchemy was beautiful.
Oh, yeah,
like,
the science is what gets you. Yes,
yes. Like the whole equivalent, the art, what is it called, the
Exchange.
science equivalent exchange is beautiful because like they so many times did Edward say this isn't magic, right? Like you have to like be able to provide something to get that in return.
It's like
so
a science, yeah.
It is like, and I think that was like a great way to like kind of ground this show where you do have something that's kind of somewhat magical, but you're saying it's science, but it's still really crazy. So it's almost like if Avatar all of a sudden had alchemy, it would make more sense. But we didn't ask for that. It's okay. We believed it in, The Last Airbender. But I think for this, it works really well because it does kind of give you, like, once you start going into the wars and the history of, like, these cities and why there's so much conflict and why it is a military state, it plays perfectly because a lot of it does have to do with alchemy and their search for alchemy, and then obviously father's like overall plan. Like, dude, this is so deep.
Dude, like let's talk about the alchemists, because I think the alchemists are also like, they're so freaking cool because they all have like a very like one specialty or one reason why they're this
Or style,
style, and I think that makes them freaking cool, man. Like for me, obviously Mustang's probably the most powerful, but for me, especially from the original one, like I always liked the Crimson Alchemist. I thought he was really cool.
Nice.
I don't know if in Brotherhood they explained it, but I wanted to ask you guys, did they explain that the way he makes bombs is using like the human body? Did they explain that in Brotherhood?
Kimberly, no.
No, so like in the original, they explained that he's the Crimson Alchemist, and the way he makes bombs is he uses humans because humans have all the chemicals that you need to create a bomb. So he's able to create bombs using humans, and that's why he's awesome. And I don't think in Brotherhood I caught that. I'm like, he just makes explosions, but they never say the line where it's like, I'm able to create explosions using the human body because the human body contains everything that I need in order to create a bomb, which I always liked that about the Crimson Alchemist. And I'm like, man, I thought he was so cool in the original. And in this one, he's cool too. I mean, he did a lot. He was way more in the show than in the original.
I mean, he does definitely place a lot into the story, but I mean, my first encounter of an alchemist outside of like the brothers was the one with the ice ability in the beginning,
and he was a good guy.
Yeah, he was because he was trying to expose the Führer. But again, I just remember when I started watching, I think I must have texted you, Carlos, because that whole idea of him being able to like freeze the liquid inside the human body was freaking amazing. And then that's
like Sub-Zero.
Yeah, like Sub-Zero, but it's like it's to me it was just like, wait, what? Like this is not even like for kids anymore, like right away from the beginning, because dude is like straight up using their bodily fluids to like freeze them up, and then I think even boil them. Is that what he was doing too at one point?
I believe so, yeah.
And then just like ultimately like seeing that and being like, holy crap, like what else can these guys do? That was a great introduction to it. And again, later finding out that it was all part of like him trying to uncover the Führer. But I don't know, like that whole alchemy to me was just, again, the idea of it. Obviously with Al and Edward, it was super great. And just the fact that like Edward is able to do it without having the freaking circles was another cool thing. That again, the whole being gifted, and I don't know, that layer of it was just great because as the show develops and you find out that the whole thing is to use alchemy to like let father rule the world, is crazy that there's still Edward who kind of doesn't need a lot of that.
I love the fact that they have like, because they kind of like push the rules of alchemy on you like a lot.
Oh yeah,
and I love the fact that they do that because they also react when somebody breaks the rules, like Edward when he doesn't have
Taboo.
to do the sigils or whatever
Yeah.
to do alchemy, or even like Hohenheim, that he doesn't even need to like wave signs or whatever to do alchemy and stuff like that. So it becomes a big deal when people do break the rules of alchemy.
We might have taken all the good ones, but did you have a favorite alchemist, Ro, that we didn't mention?
There were a lot of cool ones, but like I was also a big fan of Major Armstrong.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah. I almost thought he was like.
Yeah,
Go
because
ahead.
he was like all about like brute force, and then also like he was more of an earthbender than anyone else, because he would like bring up rocks and like punch them at people.
Yeah.
Dude, that
Stuff like that.
episode
So
when
I think it's cool.
when the sister beats him up must have been like the funniest episode in the whole like show.
Yeah.
This idea that like they're fighting over ownership of who's gonna get the
Oh,
house
man.
and the title.
But
Yeah.
but it was more like she was like, nope, you don't get it. Like it's mine now. And then after that, it goes to Mustang. Like what? Like why did Mustang? It's like you made those decisions without me, and it's just that whole thing was really hilarious. And obviously
Yeah.
the fights that came later on, but yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't say the guy in the beginning was my favorite, but I just thought that was like a cool way to like be introduced to it, because again, it's like no playing around right from the beginning.
Mhm.
Yeah, freaking Alex Armstrong, like he was pretty great too.
Yeah.
I mean, Scar's abilities were great too.
Yeah.
Scar was a character that I didn't expect, man. I
Oh,
didn't know
yeah.
how to feel. I didn't know how to feel about him because I still didn't understand the whole Schwalen conflict and like the whole like
Especially in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
yes, especially in the beginning, because like again, the timeline's really off in the show, and it's just like you're still finding out what's going on, and again to later find out that the whole like country they live in is the bad guy, like in general, like it's a whole
Yeah.
military state for a
Freaking
reason.
Germany. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, but yeah, one time you get to the Schwalen story and then Scar, like but I really liked him though. Like obviously in the beginning he's just trying to get revenge for his brother and his people, but his
Dude,
abilities and his fighting were great.
Dude, I was shocked that Scar at the end of the show was still alive. And I'm like, how did, again, because like in the original one, he dies. So it was just kind of like a huge shock that I'm like, he's still alive. And that's another thing. Like, I'm telling you, this show left up a lot of pieces. Like I'm like, was this show ever meant to have like a continuation? Because like, Scar's alive. The little boy, Homunculus, he's kind of growing up. Like, there's all these plot
Pride.
points
yeah.
you can kind of do.
Salim.
Salim. So I
But
don't know,
see-
man. Yeah.
But I saw it more like I was thinking of freaking like One Piece. Like here's Edward and Alphonse like going on their journey,
Different-
and
yeah.
they're collecting people to join them, because Scar was a big surprise just knowing where he was coming from, right? But then even at the end to have like some of the homunculi themselves like join, like Envy was like part of
Yeah.
it too.
Greed.
I don't know.
And,
yeah,
and Scar was
Greed.
like he was a monk. That's the whole reason why he was like
Yeah.
physically in like great shape and he could
Yeah.
fight, because he was a monk. So it's kind of crazy that you have like not a holy man, but kind of like in that mentality, like, you know, like I live my life this way, probably non-violent and stuff. And then he ended up turning into like a weapon.
Until when they killed his brother. Yeah, that was one of those too. Like understanding that and then seeing why he's that angry, like it made so much more sense.
Oh yeah, that reveal with his left arm. I'm like, oh man, that left arm there, you know, where he can actually do alchemy. Like he doesn't use it, but he can actually do alchemy himself.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
we
cool.
were talking about this before we even started recording, but like how we were saying how like in the live action, and I don't know, maybe like the first Full Metal, like how the people from is that the country, like Ling and all them are not part of it, but like
Yeah, they're not
Ling
part
was
of it.
another person too who like again seemed kind of silly,
He was funny.
kind of really hilarious,
Always hungry.
but always hungry, and then always up like running away, but also not really like he was obviously looking for him, like he was on his like trying to look for his thing, which he wanted to find a sorcerer's stone to ultimately like, you know, be powerful or immortal and all this stuff. But
Yeah.
in general, like he was another person that surprised me how much he brought to the table, because I was happy he joined. He seemed like a good guy to begin with, and even when he was just kind of you know, became greed somewhat, like that whole conflict between themselves, and then ultimately still like overcoming that and then still being part of the team. It was like great. But like I mean then like his assistant, or not assistant, but like his ninja aides, like the grandpa and other, like how could you had the show without him? And so I just can't imagine how the other one was,
because they're great. Yeah, they
was
like
great,
they bring a lot of action, and that scene where they're being chased by King Bradley, like that's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Especially because they trick him with the hand and they strap it on the dog. That was cool.
The Fuhrer, man, the Fuhrer, fuck the Fuhrer.
Oh,
like when I found out he was
God.
bad, like I wasn't surprised. Like I wasn't surprised that he was like bad per se. But I just remember the first time he did anything, wasn't he fighting Greed when he first like did Greed, his like? Oh no, wait, he first had that first alchemist in the beginning because he killed him, right? The one with the ice. He ultimately killed him. Yeah, he ultimately kills him. But I think he like showed his powers the most when he was fighting Greed because he freaking took out his swords, really beat his ass, and it wasn't until like later when you especially find out that he's freaking a homunculi too, and it's just like I don't know, but he was insane.
Talking real quick about Greed, like that's kind of something that upset me about watching Brotherhood. I'm like, in order for you to fight Bradley and be able to beat him, all you need to do is like your power all over your body. I don't know why he kept using his power only on his hands to like his diamond skin, Greed.
Yeah.
I'm like, the moment you're fully covering your diamond skin, like King Bradley can't touch you. So it was just kind of a little bit like. Maybe we have a reason for Bradley to be able to beat him, and I'm like, I didn't like that because I'm like, anytime that I see Greed, I'm used to him being like in full body diamond armor.
But considering Bradley was the freaking what was this Wrath?
Wrath,
like, yeah. Wouldn't it make sense that he had? I mean in this one, but I'm saying like, oh, I guess that makes more sense. But so you're saying, well, he wasn't Wrath in the other one?
No, he was. I think he was Pride in the original.
Oh, it's crazy. I kind of do want to check it out.
The teacher's son, yeah.
I do want to check that out. Like we were just talking about that like briefly again before we recorded too, how like the Full Metal Alchemist in the beginning, just who wore the homunculi was different because it was like failed transmutated humans, and I love that whole concept. Not that I don't like the idea that in this one Father created them, because I like the idea of like you have a godlike being.
Who was the mom then?
The mom of who?
The Elric brothers.
Their mom.
No, but what homunculi was she?
Oh, she was like I don't know which one, but her abilities was like water based, so that was really cool.
I hope it wasn't Lust because that'd be awkward.
No, Lust was still in the original. Envy and Gluttony, they were all like in there. They were like the main ones.
Yeah, but see, that's crazy to me. But I do like in this one that they are like parts of like Father, because like that to me, it kind of makes more sense of like a godlike figure, right? Here's a person who thinks like they're above it all. And what does he do first? He takes out pride, and then he just kind of continues. He does like these like removal of his like characteristic or personality traits to ultimately become
more perfect.
Yeah, to become more perfect. But then those guys are like fucking a-holes, man. Like I fucking hate Envy. Envy deserved all the punches, man. All the Edward punches to the face.
He was the most annoying. He would talk way too much, man. I'm like, shut
up. Dude, honestly, I really liked Envy. Like I loved the arc that they had.
Dude, similar to I was just playing Resident Evil Village, and similar to like that lady in Resident Evil, the really tall one with the spiky hands that Ramon, you'll get to know which one I'm talking about. Like I feel like Luz gets taken out too soon, man. Like Luz to me was awesome.
She was in the original,
Luz was the brothers, Scar's brothers, like not wife, maybe wife. So that's what she was. She was also from Scar's religion.
So that was really cool.
Schwalen.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they were also failed transmutated humans.
Yeah, they were.
That's what I'm saying.
That was really cool. Yeah,
it adds a whole different depth to it too. But I mean, again, considering that we're just in general, I mean, not in general, we're obviously talking about all of it. But I mean, for this one, I still really like the whole idea of the homunculi. Like,
they're awesome.
Homunculus were like to me
that's what my tattoo is. It's a homunculi tattoo.
And wait, does Simberto have the Alphonse like seal in the like his back
in the back?
Yeah, that's crazy. See, for the longest, you guys, I've been like, what the hell is that? Like,
oh no!
Now I know
what that means. If Berto ever dies, that means his hole's gonna be stuck to his body.
Yeah, that's his fault. Now he also has that Zelda tattoo that I helped him design, and now he's like double-edged swords. But no, I don't know. I mean, yeah, like the whole idea of the homunculi was like really great. Like I really did like especially as they were doing like more like Gluttony when his event ultimately started doing his like crazy like mouth stomach thing, and like
Salim was like a big surprise when I was watching the show.
Dude, I know.
The first time I was like, oh man, that's a good.
I forgot about Salim too during the rewatch, and I was like, oh shit, I forgot about him.
Yeah, his powers are cool, like shadow powers. I just always love that.
To me, he's still the Fuhrer. Like that was the biggest surprise. Like I don't know why. Like I mean, I figured that he was not like a great guy. I just didn't think he was going to be a homunculus. So that was just
It's
Yeah, I guess you're right.
weird.
Yeah,
that
it's a big shock for me too.
He's the only one that would be able to die like with a bullet or anything like that. That was to me like
Yeah.
that's kind of weird too. You know, you
And it's-
grieve.
Well, it's because of the way, because he was actually born. Like he's the only one that ages from all of them.
Well, I was about to say, like his origin story was great too. How he was part of a like kind of like Captain America, like strong soldier type of program where they're trying to see who was going to be the best to be the king or the Führer. And again, the whole idea that it was the military state and it was always father kind of running all this was like insane that he put him in place in that way. But yeah, dude was crazy.
Well, you don't know that Lust or the other ones weren't born, Ro, because technically Greed was born. They did the same way. Like they gave him the stone and hoped that it would take take to him. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
So
it was only what? It was only pride
maybe
that
he was
he, like,
just already
actually pulled
old.
out.
Maybe he was already old when they gave him the Philosopher's Stone.
I don't know, and I wonder if there was any other prior, because obviously the father has always just had control of this town, right? Like this whole he created the town, he created the military, he created everything about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was looking stuff on the timeline because again, to me, like once I finished watching it, trying to like go back and understand the timeline of it was crazy. But yeah, just to know that this had been going on for like hundreds of years, like from the initial start of like, especially with Ornheim, right? Like he was just like a slave number something, and then when he was like basically asked to do what he did, and then ultimately released or kind of gave his blood to the what was he? It was just the imp in the bottle. I forget what they called him.
I don't. They never go into how he was created.
Yeah, he didn't show how he was created. So even that was like a mystery. The blob. It was like the imp or something in the bottle, and then all that. But that was like hundreds of years in the past. So like even when they betrayed the king, and then like father technically got loose, and then he like copied Hohenheim's body, and then the whole journey that Hohenheim also took because he was trying to go one direction and trying to figure out like how to like use his powers or like his immortality to like help, and then at the same time you had father over here planning this giant ass like circle to freaking ultimately rule the world. Like that's, I tell you, like the depth of so much going on and you don't even know what's going on.
I do like that he spent the time to like get to know every single soul that was inside of his body to try to unravel it. And then you kind of have an idea of why he left the brothers, because he had this mission like, I have to go around the country and set up this circle for the time when the eclipse is going to come, you know, so you could have a counter way of, you know, when he finally absorbed God, which was really cool. Really cool.
Yeah.
Dude, he was also the one that introduced alchemy to the Xing.
Yeah, dude, that's what I was kind of also confused. I'm like, shouldn't he be like the master of like healing and knowing this crap? Where he kind of felt like he didn't even really know it. I'm like, dude, you're the guy that taught it to them.
I think as he introduced some alchemy to them, and then they kind of created their alchemical history. Yeah, so it was like a hybrid of it. I like all that too, and then even seeing Winry's grandma as a young woman, and then ultimately like you see like that part of it too, because you know how they've been friends for a long time.
Yeah,
like then you understand more why like Winry's grandma is kind of in charge, or not in charge, but like kind of takes care of the siblings while they're like growing up. And like I don't know, like I just it's all that. Like again, if it was like on a straight timeline it would be great still, but just the fact that it's mixed around. And I mean, if anything, I think that's the only thing that to me, or one of the problems where I'm like, I kind of wish I would know more about that, but it's not necessary. But when you have something like that ultimately leads to someone like father, you would kind of want to know like how he was created before him becoming father, you know. But I don't think it's necessary. I just like the idea that it was like hundreds of years in the past, and you know, basically took freaking Ornheim, or he gave Ornheim his name, and then also took his like image, and then just that whole thing. Because I was super confused when you first started seeing glimpses of like Ornheim, and then also when they started like saying that father was the father of the homunculus. Like I was like, wait, what? So then is that like their father? Like, and it's just,
I know.
You know, like I just didn't know where to go with that. And I remember when they finally got to the depths and they're like seeing him in person, and he's an asshole, like the father is. And I'm just like, wait, that's not Ornheim. Ornheim is like nice and stuff from what I've seen. And I don't know, again, just kind of like fun to be following the show and just getting all these like little mixed signals. Kind of like it was very flirty with me. The show was very flirty with me.
Yeah.
It's like,
so I do think like father's plan's a little dumb in some stuff. Like for example, like once the Ulrich brothers find out about him, he still lets them like loose, like go ahead and run around, and instead of like, dude, they know about you, Like, why don't you put them in a some kind of prison or something so they don't get out instead of like you're just letting them run around the country under the like they're not gonna. I don't know what the hell the plan they made with one another. Like, oh, as long as you don't talk to people about us or tell people our plan, like we'll let you do whatever you want. But it was just like so dumb. I'm like, dude, don't do that. And then I didn't like the fact that he had like 5 sacrifices. I'm like, why do you have to like depend on these 5 sacrifices? Because the only thing that you needed to become a sacrifice was to like try to open the door. Truth. Yeah, see the truth. So I'm like, why wouldn't you like have other people open the door so you have potentially a bunch of different ones?
Well, what he did to Roy, he should have just done that to everybody.
That's what I'm saying. That was kind of like dumb.
That's also kind of the thing that I'm wondering, because like I also wonder if not everyone sees the truth, because I wonder if like maybe you got to be at a certain level to get to that point. Okay. Because like if you think about it, like Al wasn't gonna come back. Edward's the one that brought Al back. And then obviously their teacher saw the truth and came back, and then Hohenheim obviously, and then
so they took a chance with Mustang then, right?
Yeah, because he thought like this guy is really strong, because the fire stuff wasn't easy, and it was like a family secret or whatever of Hawkeye.
Yeah.
So maybe because he can handle this, that he'll be able to come back from the truth.
Yeah, and I like that idea of having a tattoo and somebody to like the secret formula on how to make the KFC chicken is on somebody's back.
I mean, maybe not that recipe, but okay. No, I mean that whole idea too of like kind of their experiences when they were in, what is it called, the other world?
Ishval?
No, not Ishval. Like when they're in the death world, in the like
in the truth, like in purgatory or whatever.
Yeah, I forget what it's called, but I like that everybody's experience was a little bit different, because like Edward got so much knowledge from being in there, just from like the door or whatever he was like observing. Like I think like he was that good at alchemy because of everything he read, and he was able to do his abilities without like the circles for that reason. Transmutation circles for that reason. And then it's crazy because like Al basically probably would know more because his body was in there, but he's disconnected and has like no recollection of that. And it's just like, I don't know, I just really like the whole complexity of that too, because again, maybe he like father could have done that with multiple people, like what he did with Mustang, and just tricked them into doing it. But I think that makes more sense because they all did suffer, they did go through something. But Roy didn't. Roy was just like, oh, there you go. I'm going to force you to freaking lose your eye or transmute.
Well, Roy did have all the guilt from the Ishval War, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I don't know.
No, Roy's definitely like, I don't know, man. He's just so cool. Like, I don't know, something about Roy. Just maybe it's I don't know if it's like because of his alchemy, the idea that you can just like do a spark and then he can manipulate the fire. It's just freaking cool, man.
Except for when it rains, yeah. Wait, what? Except for when it's raining. I thought that was so hilarious. Because like Hawkeye especially would make fun of him all the time. Yeah. Oh man, I know we haven't started talking about like sad moments, but like skipping the sadness. But like after Hughes, and then he's like, there's something about like it's raining, and then Hawkeye's like, no, it's not. It's like it is, and then he's just like his tear rolls down, and I'm just like, God damn it. But I mean, okay,
like, yes, it is.
Can we talk about sad, Can we talk about this now? Because
I like Hughes' moment. Like to me, that was more sad than what you want to talk about. But yeah, we can talk about that first.
No, I mean because this happened first, right?
That was the first devastating moment.
That to me was just good because it made me, not just because of how sad it was to kind of have like the little girl and the dog just kind of go through this, but it was more of the idea of like the father's like desperation to fucking get certified, right? Like at this point, like I forgot who told him or who told the brothers to go visit him. And I still didn't know why. And then you get there, and then he has the whole
sewing alchemist.
Yeah. And then he has like the story. Well, he has a story about how like, oh yeah, like 2 years ago he created the chimera that spoke, and it said just like 3 words, and then it died. And then you don't know what the frick is going on. Like you don't know what that is. You're over here like, cool, like he made a chimera that speaks.
What is the chimera? Because you don't even know at that point, really.
No, but it's even just the idea that it's so like elusive, and it's great enough for like the state to basically like award them like the certification, and it was cool. It sounded great, and then again, you see the brothers kind of get attached to the little girl and everything, and it's just like, I don't know, man. That story really got to me. But again, it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
just because of the little girl and the dog. I think it's because then you realize just how the extent of that, how fucked up that guy was, man.
Dude,
Like,
well-
so fucked up.
Well, I was gonna say, so the Sewing Life Alchemist, I think that's who he was. I don't understand why they would have him retake the exam to continue to be an alchemist. Because my understanding is that when he created the mom, they ran with that. Because if you think about it, how else did they create those other perfect chimeras? Like, it had to be because he invented it,
Yeah.
and then they must have taken the format with a Philosopher's Stone and maybe created these perfect chimeras. So I'm like, why would you have him redo the test when now you're able to make perfect chimeras? Like, I don't understand why he would have to do that whole thing all over again, man.
But which is why it makes the story so fucked up, because like same thing that I was thinking too. I'm like, well, you got certified 2 years ago, whether like whatever happened or not, or the chimera like killed itself. But then ultimately, just the fact that he's doing it again, and then like rewatching those scenes again of him leading up to like turning Nina and the dog like
Yeah.
into the chimera, like it's creepy because there is a point where you already see him
creepy.
talking about it, and he's just kind of like, I will pass. And I'm just like, dude, and his like daughter's right there, and he's just like basically saying, but what's sad is, yes, of course, when freaking Edward realizes that that's what happened, like, first of all, you see the chimera there, like, it gave me chills to see the chimera of like Nina and the dog. Like, I didn't know what to like even think, because you know it like right away, like you just know it, like it's just the way that it looks is kind of like very just it makes you feel some type of way.
Yeah, because like the whole tone of that scene when you see the chimera, it's very dark.
Depressing
It's
from
so
the
dark,
beginning.
and yeah, it's
Yeah,
scary.
and you're like, something's up here, whatever. And then all the way up until the moment that he says like, she's like big brother
She's
Edward.
like, play with me. Yeah, she's like, play with
The
me.
voice, yeah, the way it sounds,
Yeah.
it's all creepy,
She's like,
man. The whole
play
thing
with
is
me,
creepy.
play with me. And then
Do
I'm
they-
just like, oh.
Does Scar kill the father in Brotherhood?
Yeah.
Does it make you feel better if I tell you that in the original one they combine him as a chimera with like another like animal, and he kind of looks like a giant Chewbacca with a human face? Does that make you feel better?
No, I like Scar killing him better.
Yeah.
because in the live action, like the first one that I watched, I think that's the story they're running with too. Like he survives, like he doesn't get killed by Scar. They haven't even introduced Scar in this, and
Yeah.
he's like off doing stuff. So I assume that in that story, or at least if that was derivative from it, like something else happens to him. But no, I like Scar going in there because again, finishing on that little moment, like once Edward then says, like, wait, so 2 years ago with the other chimera, like how long ago did your wife go missing? And then he's like 2 years ago, and you're just like, motherfucker, like what's wrong with you? Like, ugh, like see,
He's
sorry, guys,
desperate
don't
and
cancel me.
he's a messed up person.
And for what? Yeah.
Yeah, and
So-
Scar says that she's in pain, but like I'm telling you, like I feel like if you would have waited to the end of the show, they could have like found a way to
the
separate
Philosopher's
her.
Stone.
Yeah,
Well,
with
the Philosopher's Stone. Like,
yeah.
if Mustang was able to get his eyesight back, and then
Yeah.
even like, you know, like, yeah, that there had to been a way. But
It's-
that was sad too. I didn't like that he did kind of like killed her because
No,
for that,
same.
it just like
It's
it made
another
sense at the time.
That's why I was surprised that Scar like lived, because I'm like, man, I understand that he helped out at the end, but I feel like that's a character that kind of has to like have like a heroic way of just going bye. Because
He made me think of like Raul's like Vaya con Dios like type of thing where like he was, but at this moment he was like, there's no other way, like let's let her rest in peace, or kind of let her just not suffer through this. But I'm like, there was no necessarily anything that says that they would have suffered, but considering that the mom kind of did that to herself, maybe she would have done that too. Like who knows, like, you know. But like at that point it seemed that all she wanted to do was play, which just makes me emotional, because then if I say play around my dog, if she wants to play, and then I'm just like, oh, Chimera, like what's wrong? Don't talk to me.
the one character that I wish also would have died. Sorry, I'm just mentioning everybody that I wish would have died. It's Dr. Marco, because I felt like he also did a bunch of messed up stuff, and I'm like, man, like I'm like, you can't. This is like the Nazi shit. Like, oh, they forced me to do it, and it's like, okay, well, that doesn't really forgive your sins.
No, yeah, but he felt bad for what he did, and he was on the whole like redemption arc.
Nah, man, I feel like he was doing it even way past the war. You know, they still had him working in the labs, or said like, no, because he went into hiding, right? They found him.
Yeah, he went to hiding right away. Like,
yeah,
after,
right away.
I think after the, I don't know if it was the first one he did, but he went to hiding like right away.
I mean, he did be technically down the first time. You know, he was able to like kind of release all the souls from the stone, so that was kind of cool. I'm like, oh, there you go. You're actually doing something.
Yeah, nothing significant. I didn't care for him like changing his face. I'm like, that wasn't necessary.
Dude,
Wear a mask, wear a hood. You're good.
dude,
Poor guy.
is it really bad being a perfect, like one of those perfect chimeras? Does that really seem like that bad to you guys when you see those guys?
No, and so where did that? So that was my question, right? Because like this the freaking Nina's dad, like the Chimera's dad, like he was clearly going through this very experimental, like with like he had like the birds with the freaking, it was like real chimeras, but then these guys were like full blown, like transformative, like freaking huge. Like was
Yeah.
that just because of the Philosopher's Stone and because they were being created by the homunculus? Like
Probably because we don't get an answer. We just know that like Envy has this army of
yeah.
chimeras, and I don't know. I think I think it would be cool to have a chimera. Like I don't see the drawback. I don't see the reason for me to be like I need to get my body back when I can turn back into my normal human body.
Would you be a
The
lion?
snake, the snake.
You already knew, damn.
I already knew the snake.
Raul would be a lion. I know that for a fact.
I like
right,
how she's
Raul?
able
Yeah,
to
see?
like flex her arms. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
No, I mean, I did like that. I don't know if the gorillas to me are always impactful because they're like so strong already to begin with. But no, I don't know. The total was kind of weird. Yeah,
I was surprised the ones with the Crimson Alchemist were so quick to turn into like the good side. I'm like, oh my god, these guys are like quickly turning over to
they were being treated like shit. I got
they
it.
hate him.
They hated it. So that's what the thing with Quinley. Like at that point, like Kimley, at that point, I didn't like care for him because I mean he was cool in the sense of like he had his agenda that he had done before, and he obviously instigated the whole Ishvalan like civil war. But then in his new role was like to basically track down the brothers and everything. Like I don't know, like he was a douche. Like he just was doing whatever he needed to do, and he was taking advantage of the chimeras. And yeah, I would have been like, peace out, bitch.
I didn't like that he helped out in taking down Salim. I didn't like that he like showed up inside of him, and I'm like, what? I'm like, get out of here! Like you shouldn't be able to do this.
No,
get a strong will.
Well, he said that was like his like environment, chaos, and that was his mentality. Like I live for this stuff.
Okay, so the other really sad fucking twist story, but I wanted to ask you, Carlos, like Hugh's story, because obviously we know how it plays on Brotherhood, which is freaking sad.
Same way,
but it's same way. Okay, so like I love that too because like I was also like, and you just got to know with these shows and movies and things when he was like, oh, I love my family, I love my daughter, I love my wife, like oh my god, and he's just like, yeah, it's just like look.
Not so much work to make him likable.
So much work.
Yes,
dude, he had like he was really skilled with those knives. Like I'm like, like so skilled, like a ninja.
Yeah. I mean, he was like a great character because I mean, as we're like with Roy, like Mustang, you met him in the kind of in the beginning, right? Because they were younger, and then he reintroduced himself later, because he's the one that got him to join the state, right? Like the alchemist.
Yeah.
But with like Hughes, it was just kind of like a random character that joined, but obviously they had a history already. And then with the brothers, I was like, dude, like this is just gonna be like a new father figure. Like here it goes, like Roy, fuck Roy, like he's just like a hard ass, and he just wants him to like train to be part of the military. But man, I did not expect that with Hughes, and I don't think it was really sad just because of the family and the daughter and the wife.
Dude, and then the funeral, like, stop doing that. He has to work. He has so much work, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, I'm like, it's hurting me right now. Like, I feel like physically a little bit.
And even like Winry,
and even pies.
Well, and the pies. Well, even like Winry not even finding out about it till like later too. Like things like Oros and Edward. I was like, it was just all happening at different levels, and as people were finding out, like Winry, like. Man, but that was sad too because then she had built a relationship with that family. She had been over. She had been like spend a couple nights. Like they had shared pie, and I don't know, man.
Yeah. I like that she's. I know we haven't talked too much about Winry, but I like Winry's like whole character being a mechanic.
Yeah.
Auto male mechanic. Yeah.
And I think it's funny because like at least for the relationship with her and Edward, it gives you more reasons to like believe that they're going to fall in love eventually is because she's already there. She's already giving him a hard time every time that he kind of fucks his automail. And, she's basically like, not his assistant, but she's like the go-to person for him. And as much as he doesn't want to think of her romantically, like it's already going on. And like the whole time it's like, cute little stuff. But yeah, that's why I was like, I never really saw Al with her. because I think their relationship with
Yeah.
Edward and Winry was just like so cute that it was like she was always nagging him for not taking care of his like armor, his mail, and then he was just kind of like, oh well, he's fighting, so what do you expect?
Yeah, I mean that seems like normal. Like if you grow up, next to like a pretty girl and you're brothers, and you're like fighting over the pretty girl, especially if you all hang out and friends.
Yeah, tough. I mean, and if you never mind, I'm like, if you think that stuff the armor could have done, like he could have added attachments, like there was so many other things.
Oh yeah,
with the armor, yeah. So
well,
it's the same.
with alchemy, dude.
Yeah.
It was. Edward was already like thinning and thickening his armor. So
yeah. I mean,
I'm sure Al could have done it on himself.
Yo, and if I haven't emphasized enough, like Al, I love the armor. I love his whole ability to fight, the way he fights. Like every fight that he had with Edward was great. Like every time, like when they were, oh my god, that was another sad moment too. Like when when they were in the lab number 5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And whoever told them that he perhaps is just like memories. And I hated that. Yeah, of course it makes sense because like the whole idea of like, oh wait, you're not really in there. Like, how is there really a soul inside of the armor?
Yeah, your soul's not really there, just the memories, or whatever.
And it's like so strange, right? Because I don't know. So
like
I really I like that part of the story too because he was so hurt and distrustful of like Edward and that whole like fight that was of anger. And this, and obviously it was Winry.
And frustration,
and frustration. And then it was ultimately Winry who like came to the rescue in that. And she's like, "Are you stupid? Like since you were little kids, like Edward cared nothing, but like cared about nothing but like getting your body back, and he felt so bad for losing your body and all this stuff. And like, damn man, fucking gets you emotional."
I know. Like, well, it's brothers. You have a brother, so I'm guessing.
Yeah,
of course.
Of course. So. And then again, when we were doing that little thing of who's the better brother, of course, Tanjiro in the sense when we were talking about it, but like even just right now, like talking about it again, of course, like it's still a similar story where like his main goal ultimately is to get his brother's body back. And even if you talk about the end already, like the whole fact that he at the very end gave himself up to like get his brother's body back, like. Yeah, beautiful.
I mean, they were being stubborn, not using like the Philosopher's Stone, especially for the dad, and then he ended up dying anyways at the end. But the dad ended up even dying at the end. I'm like, okay, well, why are you dying all of a sudden? Like that's like I don't understand. Like you might as well have used them. That would have made his like sacrifice even more epic. Like my son, I brought him back.
Like I know, if Owenheim would have done it like on purpose, like to bring the body, that would have made sense.
Well, that's the whole thing about them is like the virtues that they had. Like they were like super. It's kind of like Superman. Like they were super virtuous brothers. That's why they didn't want to use a Philosopher's Stone to or the lives or the souls of these other people to get their own bodies back or whatever, or for their own benefit. So it was just kind of like a principle that they were standing behind.
I'm telling you, man, I'm convinced that you can continue this with like 10 years later or something, and hopefully Edward's actually tall.
Or something. Because he didn't drink any milk.
we haven't mentioned that enough. I thought that was pretty funny. But no, real quick, bro, before I forget. But no, like I think what you were saying about their virtues and how good they were was like a great like juxtaposition, I guess, great like contradiction to like the like vices, right? Like you had your lust and greed and all that stuff. Like it was perfect because I mean that's exactly when you have a show already that you're dealing with those topics of like God, virtues, vices, and it's just fitting that the main characters, like the protagonists, would have those traits. Because I mean, at the end of the day, if any of us could use alchemy and we were like in a warring state, like we were part of this world. And a lot of it had to do with conflict. Like, you would get over it and you would start killing people. Not like killing people like in that way, right? Like we're not murderers, but in the sense of like to protect your people. It's murder to protect your people around you. And it's like, dude, you got to do what you got to do. So I guess
what's kind of crazy because like here in our reality, like you can study to be a really smart scientist and do crazy experiments. You can be a pilot. You can do all these things. We tell ourselves like, if alchemy existed, then I would be like really into like studying and all that. But would we, or if a mecha robot existed, then I would be a pilot. But would I even be able to like make it to that
Senji.
level?
Like, no, I don't want to do it.
I don't want to pilot.
Man. Lelouch would have pitched.
Sometimes I feel like these things could exist, but unless you're really like gifted, like Nanji, like you just don't stand a chance.
Well, no, I mean, and Raul knows better because
Raul's like grunt.
Well, no, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like, when you have, yes, like you're right. Like we see so many like movie shows, and obviously in the real life military, Raul
even
knows.
Starship Troopers.
But but like I mean, but now that we're getting to the point where technology.
I'm doing my part.
But yeah, where we're getting to the technology where there is exosuits now, right? That the military is trying to ultimately implement. Like, man, would that make you, if you were like an 18-year-old, like straight out of school, like difficult life, and perhaps had nothing to gain? Wouldn't you be like?
Exosuits are never going to be a thing. It's going to be drones. It's going to be like
I mean, it's already drones.
Robots.
Yeah.
It's going to be like
like that.
Terminator.
I would say you
piloted Terminator.
I would say you could have convinced me to become a drone pilot, but you also have to show me the stats of how many of them are depressed, like the level of depression they each have. If it's really high, then maybe that's not a job that I would want.
You saw Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
I seen something else that I can't think of what, but there was a drone pilot and he was really depressed too.
I can just tell. Well, I can just tell you, I couldn't do like Pacific Rim, like the whole sharing to consciousness and like trying to sync.
Me and you, man, we would sync up.
Well, no, I'm not saying we wouldn't be capable of it, but then it's like you're so dependent on that one person, and you saw how that turned out. The second that one person's like incapable of doing their job, then you're screwed. Like those.
But that's how the pilots were chosen. It wasn't like because he says it in it. Because I just watched the recently. It's like, we were never the smartest, we were never the fastest, we weren't like the best at sports. The thing that we had is the compatibility. Yeah.
Or would you be like Shinji and Asuka, who like we still don't even know if she was a clone or not? And
we
like
talk about Evangelion.
Why haven't we talked about Evangelion, man?
We need to do it like 5 episodes at a time or something.
Raul, and you got to watch all the movies, man. All the freaking rebirth, all the redone. Like it's just. I mean, but I think I love. So yeah, I love that idea of just being able to like have these, like you were saying, like these type of powers and things like that too. But it's like to withhold from like hurting people to save others. It's kind of like a little bit, but they were kids, so it makes sense like why they would respect that. And I mean,
because I forgot what episode it was because they even said that they mentioned it somewhere about like being able to, or how much harder and how much stronger they had to be able to like kill people but not do it. Or to not go the easy way or whatever, and how like they chose the harder path and that they were stronger for that.
Yeah, I don't think Edward kills anybody in this whole damn.
No, I don't think so.
Episode like show.
He hurts plenty of people, but I don't think he kills any. Besides maybe Homunculi.
Yeah, because in the original he definitely kills Greed. I know that for a fact. But no, I guess, the only thing I want to say before we start talking about something else or, we say our goodbyes or our final thoughts is that, Ro, I know you said you could have used more, and I agree that we could have used more. But overall, I do feel like the story could have been compressed. Maybe if you took out like 10 episodes. To me, it felt like something about it, man. Something I felt like, I don't know if you were stretching the episodes or you were giving me things that really weren't needed. But I do feel that you could go from 65 to 55 and make it a lot more cleaner. At least that was like my one note that I would say.
I think because they added a lot more sideways, they added a lot more context around. So that's part of the reason why the episodes felt more full, is because they went deeper into more characters than they probably needed to, but it's hard to say how much of that to take off, because you felt empathy for all the bad guys, like even the serial killers in the lab. Like you felt certain, like you felt certain things. And then the homunculus or homunculi and the Israelans and different towns and all these kind of side characters. They kind of went through their characters a little bit,
and they're probably adapting the manga page to page, like each whatever chapter is an episode, so they're probably doing that too. So
who
Wow.
You know who I felt bad for, and not in that way, but Sloth, man. By the time you finally got introduced to Sloth, I was like, wait, Sloth has been building a circle for years? Because if you think about it, he had been doing that for years. That wasn't like a week,
and it's
a
Sloth
month.
too.
Yeah. So like, and even though he was the fastest one, right? He was the fastest homuncule, right? Like
that's who the mom is, bro. The mom in the original is Sloth.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But then there was no story about like Dom building a giant transmutation circle to like do this, because like
there was something, because I know that's how Scar dies. He makes like a giant circle, but I just don't recall it. I'll do the hard work and I'll rewatch the original and tell you guys if we need to talk about that one.
Go for it. I'll start watching something else. But no, like I did like even like Sloth too, because he was introduced not so late, but he was introduced like late. Obviously, they were up north and everything. And it was cool to find out there was another one. And if you really thought about it, you would have known there was another one, just from who was missing. But then just like that, like he was kind of annoyed. He's like, such a pain. Like, I'm just doing this, and how long am I doing this for? And then ultimately, when he's fighting like the freaking Mr. Armstrong and Izumi's brother or dad, husband. That was like a great fight. Like all this stuff. Like I don't know. Like
he's moving too fast.
He's moving way too fast.
I mean, he was the one that I just, because again, I really love Brad. I like Isumi's kid growing up and becoming like homunculus. So when you compare a little boy, a teenage boy being a homunculus, and like this idea that he was born in an island and didn't live with human contact for like 12 years of his life or whatever, compared to this guy that's just like digging holes. Like, I don't know, man, give me that little boy, because I think has more of a like a emotional impact.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
I get it.
I mean, honestly, when you were talking about like when we were talking about this earlier, like it makes me want to watch that original one for that reason, because like, right, the mom being a homunculus, like that's crazy. Like, I would want to see that like fight of them trying to like not kill her or hurt her, but
they see her because she's the King Bradley's assistant, so they get a glimpse of her like really early on, and they're like, wait, that looks like mom, and so she's always next to King Bradley.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. So, did you guys kind of feel bad for Lust? Because dude, that death was freaking brutal.
Awesome. Mustang,
incinerator. Dude, how many times like did she have to burn up? And like those screams of pain, dude. The voice acting of this English dub was fucking awesome.
The music, the end credit music was always fucking awesome. The intro was always awesome.
A lot of everything.
No, I did feel for her, because like Carlos said earlier, like we didn't even get a whole lot of her. Like you got a lot of her in the beginning. She didn't really do a whole lot. So it's like to me, she was never. Yeah, to me, she was never like. I mean, we knew she was bad, but like you never truly saw the bad. So therefore, you just had nothing but to feel bad for her, because they're like, oh dang, like what did she do? Like
she always felt,
that's brutal.
She always in the original and in this one, she always felt like the leader of the homunculus. Like she was a smart one. Like like that's why it's such a shame that you lose her in both of them like so early. I feel like it's like, oh man, that sucks, because she's just so cool looking.
Oh, another moment when you saw that freaking Mustang supposedly like did the same thing with to Ross. No, with Ross. Remember like when they said that Ross was the one that killed Hughes, and so he chased her down. Maria Ross, and that
so it's just a body,
and then I remember body. I was like, wait, what the frick? Like, no way he just did that. Like, no remorse, nothing. Like that was one of his people. Like nothing. And then later, when you see her, you find out like the what his plan was and how he kind of faked all that. That was so great. Another moment that I just forgot until right now. I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen when you were talking about like Lust dying that way.
I like when Mustang, going back to Lust, took out the Philosopher's Stone from her, thinking like that would kill her, but then she just started forming herself out of it. And like that's the one thing I also kind of didn't like in this Brotherhood, that the homunculus. I don't like the idea that you can just kill them over and over and eventually like they'll die. Especially because some of them I feel like they didn't really take a lot of times for you to kill them to like for them to like
Well, Well, Envy's like you were telling me like Envy's crazy form, like when he's like the big giant like green dog with all the souls like coming out of him, like that was so great.
That was cool.
But then when he turned into little freaking caterpillar looking like thing, I was like, oh my god, just fucking smush that thing, like kill it.
Dude,
like,
dude, I was watching it, and then Elias like he saw that I was watching and saw the slug thing, and it was like, oh, it's so cute because it was talking all cute. It was like, no, it's Envy, like a horrible person. He killed. They killed Hughes.
Yeah, he killed Hughes. Like that's the one we said. I'm like, why are we letting him live? Like, why? I mean, at this point, I don't even remember what they were doing. Oh, they were trying to get
they wanted to kill him.
Yeah, but like
they should have killed him. Dude,
and then he escaped once. He escaped once. Remember,
because what's her name? May.
Yeah, May was supposed to take
oh,
him.
Yeah. Because he convinced May to go back and go to Central.
How do you feel about that one really old guy becoming the new Fuhrer? The one that blew up the train.
Oh, the weird guy.
Yeah,
that dressed up as a girl.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like the old lady. Wait, the one that was selling the flowers, right?
Yeah.
No, not selling flowers. No. He was just like in the train, and then he met Mustang at the cemetery.
Oh, that's what he was just meeting Mustang a couple times. Yeah.
It's funny. That was pretty
I mean, there's even that whole idea of how to like capture Fuhrer Bradley or King Bradley. Like that was cool too. How like they had a whole plot going on, and then I don't know. I tell you, like the levels to that point, especially when you start talking about like the conflicts of the nations and what's going on too. I don't know.
Salim, man, I feel like that left a really bad taste in my mouth. This idea that he's technically like around. Like I don't see it. Like I just don't see him staying that sweet boy like the whole time.
He might not be Pride anymore though. He might just be a kid that's like a clone of Pride.
He have like a freaking...
Oh, he had like a nipple in his forehead.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
I think it's like a knot, like just a circle nipple. Or something. But I'm like, isn't that like... Well, because remember the clones that they were creating, like the immortal clones?
Oh, yeah, they kind of
it looked like that. It had like some kind of circle or something. Like they had similar markings.
Well, I think like even Lust, like in her arms, she had like this like circles in her arms. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and to me, it's like, how does that still not a homunculus? Like it's still a homunculus. Like it's still a homunculus. Like it is. Like whether he's reborn. Yeah, but I don't know. Like I don't know.
Yeah, like
there's something fishy about that.
I feel like they put a bullet on him when he's like turns 10 or something. Like for sure.
I don't know, man.
I think that's part of the reason why they're keeping an eye on him.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny. Well, I don't know, man. I mean, I think we did a great job. It's fun talking about it. It's way overdue, but I think it came at a perfect time. Because there's a lot of things going on, with the live action Avatar that we'll be talking about next week. So, I'm glad we finally did this.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. Finally get to
talking
wear this shirt after so long. Wait, what? Oh yeah, Earthbending.
I'm glad nobody we went the whole episode without nobody clapping, right? I forget. I don't know. I have to re-listen to us.
I know. I thought about it in the beginning.
Yeah.
But, clap to freaking no.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah. It's the alchemy.
The alchemy. All right. Well, clap us away, Ro. All right.
No, not like that clap.
Oh my god. All right. I'll talk to you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.